So, guys, it's been 4 weeks, and in those 4 weeks, I have been doing nothing but play FGO. And okay, it's not 100% of the time, but it's 90% of the time that I just spend playing FGO, and the other 10% is like other video games in between. But whenever I am playing a video game, it's almost always FGO now, and I want to talk about it because I've been hooked and I've been logging in nonstop. There's a lot of things to talk about with this game, but I'm gonna skim over stuff like the story and the gacha, which is like the monetization system in this game, just because I don't think there's much to even say, about those things. Like, we'll get started with the story right now. The story, I mean, it's not much to say other than that it starts off a little boring, but now it's getting pretty good. Without going into full on spoilers, but there's not much to say. The gacha, well, I mean, if you for those of you who are not familiar, gacha is basically loot boxes. You spend in-game currency to get a random virtual item, and depending on what virtual item you want, those might have different drop rates, different chances of you actually getting it. It's all just one big lottery. And I mean, this is not much to say other than, it sucks. Your odds of getting a specific thing is usually terrible. You can alleviate that a little bit by waiting for specific items to have higher drop rates. I say items, but you really want to roll for servants, which is basically the characters you have on your party. All the servants that you have, all the servants that you might want, could potentially get an increased drop chance, but it's not always guaranteed that the one you want will get a drop rate increase. So good luck with that. And even if you do get a higher chance of getting them, your odds go from terrible to slightly less terrible. So it's not much to add there, other than it sucks, but it is what it is, and it's kind of fun. A little bit of gambling. We all have it in us to find any sort of gambling kind of fun. Just because it's all up to chance, and then when you do get the thing you want, it's exciting. But if you have like an actual gambling addiction, probably stay away from games like these. But I really want to get to talking about the gameplay, right? And also, I just realized that all of this will be a little confusing if you're not familiar with what Fate is, specifically what FGO is. But there's a good chance if you click on this video, you probably already know what Fate is at least. And FGO, I'll just cover what FGO is quickly. It's a mobile game. It's a free-to-play mobile game that is a turn-based RPG, and it's set in the Fate franchise. And if you click on this, you're probably familiar with it. So if you're not, just look it up or something. I don't know. But I want to get to the gameplay, right? Because the gameplay, it's not anything crazy or groundbreaking. It's just a turn-based RPG. I mean, there's a couple interesting gameplay aspects to how they handle particularly like attack chains and stuff like that, because you still have your standard oh, it's your turn and then you cast your abilities, and then you activate your buffs or debuffs on the enemies and whatnot. But for your attacks, you're using like this weird card system, almost like a card game, because each of your party members comes with 5 cards, and they have different ratios of different types of cards within the 5 cards that they come with. So you're kind of building your party around maybe a specific card type, so you have the highest consistency of drawing that type of card. It's almost like a trading card game in that way, where you're trying to mess with ratios and up the consistency on whatever the game plan is you have set for that deck. In this case, it's the party you've created for this for whatever battle you're tackling. And to elaborate on the card system in FGO specifically, you there's three types of cards basically that your characters can come with. You have Buster cards, Quick cards, and Art cards. So Buster cards are just a general damage, but all the cards Buster cards usually do more damage, right? And it's all about damage. Art cards help you build meter for your Noble Phantasm, and that you just essentially cash that in when it's at 100% to activate your Noble Phantasm, which is your big ol' like super move. And then you have quick cards, which is just to build up crit essentially, you know. But with because each character comes with different ratios of these cards, you know, it's like you can build a team with servants that have a higher ratio of quick cards, for example, than they do their other cards. So, you know, you do the maths, and your deck of cards, which is 15, because you can have 6 people in your party, but only 3 of them can be out at a time, right? And basically, whoever's out at that time gets their card added to a collective, like to a deck, essentially. And then every turn, you draw 5 cards, and those 5 cards are, you know, whatever cards you pull from the top of that deck. You know, they all get added into a deck of 15 cards, and then they get shuffled, right? So, in that sense, you know, it is like a trading card game. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, you want to have good card ratios, and you want to build for a specific card type. Obviously, it's not nearly, you know, there's not nearly as many variables as something like Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, has, because that is a full-on card game. You know, you have different cards to do different things. Here, all the cards are just attack cards. They all hit the enemy, but then they all have slightly different properties. And then you can, like, chain... Oh, yeah, I should probably go into how, like, attacking actually works. So you pull those 5 cards, right, from the top of the deck, but and then you can pick 3 of those cards to hit the enemy with. And, you know, they can be a combination of, like, you know, quick art or buster cards, right? But you get different bonuses depending on how you chain them. Like, if all 3 cards are buster cards, then they all do more damage. If all 3 of them are art cards, then you get, you know, a bonus to your Noble Phantasm gain, and so on. So, you know, there's some decision making that you have to do to to your deck building, but also, like, you know, you have to decide at which times do you want to do, like, do you want to do an art chain now, or do you want to hold on to those art cards and save it for later and go for like for more buster cards in your attack chain, you know, at that moment. You know, there's some depth to the decision making there. In the beginning of the game, the difficulty is not very high, so you're kind of cruising through most of the early game. But then once the difficulty ramps up, then you start really thinking about your essentially your deck building, your party crafting, right? And you also start really thinking about, you know, how to use your cards most effectively at, you know, certain you know, times of, you know, the battle, and, you know, the whole game state, right? You know, do you always push for buster cards, or, you know, do you hold on to those and you go for something else to build up, you know, crit, to build up your crit, or to build up, you know, your Noble Phantasm gauge and all that. And all this stuff is, yeah, like I said earlier, is not so obvious in the beginning, just because of the lower difficulty at the start of the story. But it's been a lot of fun with the increased difficulty, just, you know, having more depth and thinking more about stuff. And like the gameplay has got me pretty hooked, but the whole aspect of building your party and, you know, essentially min-maxing stats and crunching numbers, that part has really gotten me engaged as well, because I'm a sucker for big numbers. You know, like, you know, just seeing stats go big and seeing the, you know, the mats add up and all that stuff, just really rubs me in a good way. You know, it rubs me in a good way, and I have a lot of fun with stuff like that. Like, I love games like Pokemon and all that, where it's, you know, you're building a team, right? You're building a team, and you're trying to get abilities to, or like different skill sets from your different party members to work in sync with each other. I love games like Yu-Gi-Oh as well, like that whole deck building. That's a lot of fun for me. But obviously, aside from the story and the gacha that I covered earlier, there's other aspects to this game that have, worked in tandem with the gameplay that to really keep me hooked. And I mean, this is a little bit related to story, but not really. It's more of just the general cast of characters that you can get in your party. Some of them have story significance. Others are just characters, because this is like a gacha game, so you just have a massive roster of characters that you can have in your party, and it's they all of them don't necessarily have story significance. Sometimes they're just a character that you can just put in your party, right? And because the whole thing with the Fate franchise is that they they anim- they turn historical figures into anime characters, and interpret aspects of their history and like legend or myth, into like their like skill set, or into their like visual design, or like combat ability. It's a lot of fun seeing those interpretations in this game. I was really lucky in my first gacha role, the one that you get in the beginning of the game. That's kind of like in the tutorial, I guess. I got really lucky to roll Heracles, which is a berserker class servant. And Heracles, he's or like most people will be familiar with the Roman version of the name Hercules, because the whole Disney movie. But he's a fucking big name in Greek mythology. And I'm a huge fucking nut for Greek myths and all that stuff. So that was really cool to get. And also I did watch I like the Fate UBW anime, so that it was even better. And I fucking love that character. So it just getting attached to all these different characters and seeing all these cool interpretations of historical figures. That's another really big draw of this game that has also gotten me hooked. Like I've got Heracles on my party, and I've got Leonidas, king of the fucking Spartans and shit. That's I just love all this stuff, man. It's just a combination of things that just really rub me the right way. Aside from I guess the character roster, another thing that I really enjoy is the animations and stuff, because you're gonna be staring at the combat playing out the whole time. That's why you can be staring at for most of the game, aside from maybe the visual novel parts in the story mode. But other than that, 60-70% of the time you're gonna be staring at the combat take place. So because of that, the animations need to be good, right? The animation and the art needs to look good, and thankfully both are really good. The art looks great, and the sprites for the characters look fantastic, and the animations are top notch in most places you look at. Because this is like an online service game, some characters are, because they roll out updates and stuff like that, and the newer and more popular characters will have a lot better animation and attention and detail put into their animations. But some older characters that have been around since the beginning of the game just haven't had any animation updates, and because of that those characters can look really jank. But then on the other end you have Saber Artoria, and I'm sure even if you're not familiar with Fate, you've at least seen this character. I'll probably put a picture of her up on the screen. But because she's essentially the face of Fate at this point, you can expect that her animations are fucking top tier, right? But there's a little bit of charm with the more janky animations. Maybe it's just me personally, but I find it really funny just looking at the shitty janky animations of characters. In some cases, some characters even share animations with the generic skeleton enemies you fight, or just generic mobs in the story mode. Seeing a shared moveset like that, it looks really funny. But I know that's not everybody's preference. Some people don't enjoy seeing jank. Me personally, I find, I mean, it depends on how the jank is, but most of the times jank is pretty funny to me, and I don't mind it too much. But it is. But although now recently, I don't know what the company is. I think it's Aniplex. I think those are the guys doing FGO. I'll probably correct it if I got that wrong. But they've been going back and reworking and updating animations for older characters and stuff recently. So that's great. Because some characters definitely deserve like new animation updates. But everybody just has to wait their turn. Some characters will get theirs, other characters need to wait a bit longer. And you just gotta hope that your favorite character either already has good animations or hope that they will get an animation update. But that's been my experience with FGO. I just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to get a little bit excited. Just wanted to share that with you guys. Also, you definitely would have noticed that this is not what I usually do on this channel. Usually I do gameplay compilations, but I thought I'd try something different for once. And it took me a long time to get around to this because obviously I've been playing Fate nonstop. And also, but that's not entirely true. It's a combination of just playing Fate all the time now, but also I just haven't done the style video at all, really. Closest thing I did that's kind of like this is, I guess, my subscriber celebration video, I guess, where I just kind of talk. But this is a new format for me, and I want to do more stuff like this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm definitely gonna put out more stuff for sure. Once I figure out what kind of content I want to do, because I'm kind of feeling the waters and trying new things like this video. So that's all from me. I'll see you guys next time.